Good morning. It is Wednesday, October 30th, 2019. Spooky. Tomorrow's Halloween. Get your costumes. Get lit. Get your candy. Do whatever you got to do. It's a great holiday. I do love Halloween, by the way. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Potential costumes in the booth on Thursday night in Waco, Texas. Just a little heads up. West Virginia takes on Baylor. Thursday night football on ESPN. Myself, Adam Amin, Matt Hasselbeck, Molly McGrath, potentially participating in Halloween festivities.
Okay.
Nice.
Maybe. Last night, World Series, Game 6, a lot of controversy. A 6-minute break by the umps comes back with no new news. A man who had a heart problem almost had another one because he was so angry at what the umpires did. I can respect it. That was an entire mood. Joe Tessitore said on Monday Night Football, why do we still have these first down chains? It is archaic. Many people would argue, why are umpires still calling strikes and balls? Why do they have to go over to a camera, put their headphones on, and listen to another old white try to break down technology? I think it has to get a little bit younger. Kate Upton told me the call was right on Twitter. She got ratioed to hell and back on her. Verlander, tough go about it, pal. Hate to hear about it. Excited for a Game 7s, though, no matter what sport it is. Trade day came and went for the NFL. Nothing really big happened. A lot of drama, though. This person's mad at this person. This person got shipped out of town for a bag of balls. A lot of stuff happened. 10:02. We got PJ Fleck at 10:05 to talk about the Minnesota Gophers, who are currently undefeated and have one of the best stories in the history of sports happen just last game when Casey O'Brien, four-time cancer survivor, made his debut for the Minnesota Gophers. Coach Fleck and he had a very emotional moment on the sideline. We'll talk about that. We got a lot of stuff going on. Jonathan Stewart in the second hour. It's going to be a beautiful Wednesday before we head down to Texas. Evan Foxy, play some Chase Rice.
It's the perfect occasion for a middle vacation from the heart of the nation. Not a young medication.
Bars.
2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is Chase Rice. That handsome man is on tour right now. If he comes to your city, go ahead and check him out. On the couch, Todd McComas before he heads back to the phone booth in the second hour. DJ Nick Morrow on the ones and twos. Any Jason McAfee today?
We got 2 new J-Mac bangers.
Let's go! Wow. That's our independent artist that is inside the office on a daily basis. Came from the same birth canal as me, my brother Jason McAfee. He's older. Polar opposites, but damn good beats. We debuted yesterday. At Tone Diggs with a Z, at Ty Schmidt, at Evan Foxy, at Viva Lazito. Joining us in like a minute or two will be Coach PJ Fleck from the Minnesota Gophers. Before we get to that, something quick I'd like to talk about. Normally I hate staged videos on the internet, right?
Yeah.
Save the stage videos for FCC regulated programs is how I feel it, right? Because you got to do what you got to do over there. You can't have things flying off the handle. But that Bleacher Report video of Steve Nash that was obviously staged, where the ball got kicked to him, and then he drained a jumper, and then he took the guy to the rack. I'm very indifferent about it. I mean, it has 1.2 million views, so it accomplished its job, right? Whoever made this video did it well because it got 1.2 million views. But it's just too staged for me to really promote. So I'm kind of in this indifferent state of mind right now. Where it just popped up on my phone here. I don't know how to feel about it. Steve Nash, friend of the show. I'm happy he's got game. Had a hurt back, said he hadn't played in 8 years. Still balling in the Blues Brothers suit. So clip that. That's my take on a trending video right now.
I like it.
Now, a story that I absolutely loved, a very much for the brand video, a very much for the goodness of the world video. The Minnesota Gophers brought in a new head coach, PJ Fleck, a year back. A man who has nothing but energy and passion. We got a chance to go into their facilities in Minneapolis, Minnesota! And they redid everything. Literally redid everything. They got beautiful practice facilities. They got a whole new state-of-the-art program everywhere. And this man was the leading force behind it. And it's paid off for the Gophers because now they're 8-0 and one of the darlings of college football. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is their head coach, PJ Fleck.
Well, thank you, guys. Thanks for having us on the show.
Hey, Coach, thank you so much for joining us. I mentioned it a little bit ago. That moment with Casey O'Brien was it was riveting. The video piece that College Game Day did this past weekend was incredible. When I saw it happen live, it was awesome. A lot of people say PJ Fleck is just a lot of hype, a lot of talk. Nothing's really genuine. And to see you crying on the sideline with a player of yours that you gave an incredible opportunity to, I think showcased that you're this genuinely passionate, great head coach for the Minnesota Gophers. What happened in that entire lead up there? Did you know that was going to happen? Did Casey know that was going to happen? And did you know that the world was going to be touched as much as it was?
Well, it's a very touching story, and if that story doesn't touch you, I don't think you're a human being. Right? And so for Casey, we knew that would possibly happen. We traveled them to Rutgers. We thought it happened earlier in the year, and when we had Nebraska here, we had an opportunity to possibly make it happen, and then the kickoff return got flipped, and the fumble got overturned. So it wasn't meant to be there, but doing it at Rutgers was a really special moment for our players, a really special moment for Casey. You know, his whole life he's been told he won't, he can't, he shouldn't, he wouldn't. We're not going to allow you to in terms of playing college football. And all this young man has done is defy every odd possible, whether it's beating cancer 4 times, whether it's being told he would never play football. Nobody can ever take away that he played Big Ten college football away from him. And I think that's something that's really important. And he's one of the most special human beings I've ever met in my entire life. And for the people who obviously don't think however they feel about me, I mean, that's how they feel. They probably don't know me very well. So I really don't worry about what people think of me if they don't know me. But Casey O'Brien is the ultimate Gopher, and he's what Row the Boat's all about.
Coach, when I say this, I mean this. I didn't know much about you before we went into your facility. And then the way we were treated by everybody of your staff was just first class. It's obviously a big reason on why you're skyrocketing in this coaching profession, and a reason why you've gotten the Gophers to turn around so quickly. You've motivated an entire state and an organization there to get things going. With Casey O'Brien, by the way, great hold. I mean, that was a good hold. He turned that thing and everything. I mean, I think that should not go unnoticed there. Minnesota, yeah.
You would definitely notice that, right? I mean, if
yes.
you're somebody who could actually appreciate that, you would. And the second hold was even better because that one was on the ground, and he had to be able to find a way to make the hold. And that's the one you hold your breath on because as a parent as well, I have 4 kids of my own, and you know, it's hard when you know that he probably can't be hit. And he got that thing down, and the last thing I wanted him to do was yell fire. That would not have made me feel very good. It would have made my heart drop, but he's a great athlete, and he was able to get it down.
That's amazing. The Minnesota Gophers, also an amazing, not only story, but amazing team right now. Undefeated. You got Penn State traveling to Minnesota. I saw you chatting about having College Game Day visit the campus, which after experiencing one College Game Day in Brookings, South Dakota, absolutely electric. What is the team's mindset going into the game against the Nittany Lions, who are also very, very, very good? This is going to be an incredible Big Ten matchup.
Yeah, first of all, you did an elite job last week. I got a chance to even watch it, and I appreciate you picking the Gophers. And, you didn't spend much time on it, which I appreciate.
I wasn't allowed. They yelled at me for talking the time before that, so I just had to get a Row the Boat in there. Sky you ma.
You know, listen, that meant a lot to our program, and we really appreciate that. And your gear was top notch, man. I mean, you win the Gear of Game Day Lifetime Award. But you know, Penn State's one of the best teams in the country. They're top 5 for a reason. When you watch them on film, they have weapons everywhere. Quarterback's playing at an incredibly high level. He's a dual threat guy, and then they also have one of the best receivers in college football who does everything. He's kind of like Rondale Moore-ish, but maybe even faster. And they do a lot of things with him. So that's their version of him. They have great running backs. Their offensive line's tremendous. Their tight ends are very talented. They've got 3 receivers who can really go and really run. And then their defense, they play 22 guys. They rotate in and out, and they don't miss a beat. They have depth. They've been there a long time. They've been able to create depth and recruit at a high level. It's a tremendous challenge for us, and we know that. But we love that it's at TCF Bank Stadium. We love that we have them at home, and we love that it's in front of our home crowd.
How the hell did you get this team to turn around so fast? Whenever we were in there, we got a chance to kind of see the boys come together. And I think some people left the program on their own part because they didn't want to buy into what you were selling. But you and everybody that we talked to there said, we got a good group of guys coming in. We got our guys in here. And the turnaround, there's no way you could have thought it was going to happen this fast. I mean, in that building, it was very cool to feel like everybody was and this is rowing the boat in the same direction. It really felt that way. Is that kind of the reason why it's turned around so quickly, or what has been the magic bullet here?
Well, I don't know if there's any magic formula or any magic bullet. Programs either make a turn or they don't. Coaches either probably find a way to get extended or win a lot of games, or they get fired, right? I mean, it either happens or it doesn't. The one thing that we have is incredible people. Our staff is absolutely elite. And I mean everybody from Garrett Chernoff, our GM, our operations, our recruiting department, our support staff, our recruiting assistants, our coaches. We have incredible people, and then our players are incredible people. You know, we have 85 players above a 3.0 GPA right now, and they get demanded to do what they do in the classroom just as much as they do on the field, and vice versa. They have over 1,100 community service hours since January. We challenged them to be champions, and if that's what they really wanted, they were going to have an enormous offseason ahead of them, and they took it head on. It was a very difficult offseason for them, not in terms of like brutally hard. It was just challenging that every day you had to find a way to be better today than you were yesterday. And that's hard for human beings. It's fighting human nature every day. And it's getting the right fit here. I am not for everybody. And I am not going to apologize for being not for everybody. I don't want to be for everybody. I am going to be me. I am going to be the best version of myself and the best coach and the best husband, the best father, as well as I want our players to be the same thing and our staff to be the same way. And I'm not going to be for everybody. And I think one thing with me, it happens very quickly. If I'm for you, perfect. If I'm not for you, you know very quickly that I'm not for you. So, and that's okay. And I think that's what's happened faster than maybe if some coaches try to be somebody that they're not, and they massage things here and there. And next thing you know, you have people that don't fit in year 3, 4, and then you're still struggling. So I think that's what we've done. That's how we've done it for 7 years. We are who we are, and we're just very proud and thankful and very humbled to be at the University of Minnesota.
Man, what a speech about life you just gave there, not just coaching. I mean, that was an incredible – some people just aren't going to like you. That's just the way it goes. That's for everybody, not just a head coach of Minnesota, but in life. That's just the way it goes. And by the way, more humans are going to like you than not like you. That's just the way it is. Keep it moving. Let's not worry about anything else. All right, I want to ask you about the word elite, because when we were in your building – if something was called elite, it was massive. It's like, hey, this is elite. You told me my performance on College Game Day was elite. I got so excited just because I know how big of a word that is for your program. What is elite? Why are you guys elite? And why is that the most important word in the dictionary for Minnesota Gophers?
First of all, it's a lifestyle, right? And it's a standard. And my wife, Heather, always tells me what's the hardest part about being the standard is you're the standard. And you're always the standard, right? And so the Navy SEALs call themselves elite. It's a special part of the Navy, right? It's the elite of the elite. It's a group that's just different. Now, we define elite as a necktie mentality, a Prefontaine pace, and a farmer's alliance. I know that doesn't make any sense to all of you, but a necktie is an organism that can flow through water without the water current dictating its behavior. So a great white shark is a necktie. It always attacks, and it's never full. It's never satisfied. So whether that's academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, it's never satisfied. Navy SEALs can fight on land, water, and air. They are never satisfied, and they're the elite of the elite. So we want them to have this always attack, never full mentality in their whole life, as a husband, as a father one day, as a student athlete, as a representation of the University of Minnesota. Then the Prefontaine pace is just we want them to do things urgently. There's no procrastination in this program, zero. Whatever you can do tomorrow, find a way to do it today, right? Don't put it off to tomorrow, no matter what. And that's what we talk to our players about. And then the last part's the Farmers Alliance, and that's about trust. If my farm is right next to your farm is just as important to mine because the seeds of corn are on top, and the wind will dictate what our crop is like. So you have to take care of each other, and you have to love each other, and you have to be very selfless. So that's what elite is to us. I know it's a big definition. It sounds like all these fancy slogans and words, and, oh, my gosh, he's just a slogan guy. It's simple. It's just finding a way to be better today than you were yesterday and fighting human nature.
Coach, You just made me want to neck on through a wall, bro. That was. Is that every day right there? Is that type of energy from you and just incredible motivational speed? I mean, literally, it is 10:15 right now. I'm not running on a lot of sleep with this fall schedule, and I was ready to flip my table right there out of nowhere. Is this every day? Is that what you mean by every day the team is being asked to get better? Every day you have to show up with energy because every day you can either get better or worse?
Yeah, because as a human species, we're lazy. You know, we're like water, the path of least resistance. You know, we want to be comfortable. You know, we want to just sit back and watch television. But our mind is the most powerful tool we have, and it's fighting that every single day. You know, I'm a former sixth grade social studies teacher, so I can get creative really quickly. That's what I'm trained in, and to teach 30 sixth graders ancient Rome 30 different ways. And people always ask me, "Are you always like this?" And I look right back at them and I tell them, "Like what?" Are you always like this? You don't even know what they're talking about because I've been this way my entire life. I have energy, I have passion, I've always had a love for life. There's been good things that happen in my life, really bad things that happen in my life. I know I have a purpose and a platform, and I'm going to use it to the best of my ability. But I am who I am. And like I said before, I want our players to be who they are, and they don't have to match my personality. But they do have to match the burning desire inside my heart, my soul, my spirit to be the best I can possibly be. And if you match me that, we'll get to know each other really well and we'll fit. If you do not match me that way, you'll never get me, you'll never understand me, and we'll never fit. So you can be like Daniel Falele, doesn't talk much. His personality is opposite of mine. But his internal drive to be the greatest player and person he can be matches mine. And that's why we fit so well.
Coach. My God, I need you if you weren't a coach right now, which, by the way, you're a very, very good one. You've turned around programs. It's what you do. It's incredible to do in a very hard field to have success like you have had. But, you could probably go on a speaking circuit in the offseason and just rack in cash if you wanted to.
Well, Heather says I talk too much, so I don't know if that help or hurt.
Well, Coach, I can't thank you enough for joining us here. I feel like the people who don't get you are probably the same people that don't get a lot of good things in life. To hell with them, and to hell with anybody if they don't come to the Minnesota Gophers College Game Day experience. Now, hey, okay, this is news that just broke this morning I have to ask about. You guys voided a night game for the Minnesota-Penn State game. Is that accurate, or is that just rumor?
No, we did not void that game. No, at all. It's completely 100% inaccurate.
Okay, good.
The way the Big Ten works, both teams have to be able to agree on night games, and you have to be able to match it up with television. But that is 100% inaccurate. The University of Minnesota Golden Gophers did not turn down a night game.
Okay. Hey, Coach, I'm happy you said that. I'm happy we gave you a platform to say that. And I can't thank you enough for coming on here, motivating the hell out of me this morning. And I can't wait to watch the Minnesota Gophers continue to succeed. Your hospitality to me and the boys was next level. And thanks for joining us, Coach.
Well, likewise, anytime, guys. Row the boat, sky them out, go Gophers. Thank you.
Hey, elite combo, PJ Fleck. Okay. Hey, man. Hey, I was about to go right there.
Man, that was amazing.
I may or may not have indulged in some vitamins right before we got on. So I was in a little bit of a different headspace. And then listening to him talk, I just thought about being in the locker room, listening to him start going, and just being like, okay, man, let's do it then. He's like a drill sergeant, though.
Yeah.
Right? The drill sergeant has to be like whenever he's like the standard, when you're the standard, that's like a drill. So we had a friend that went to our high school. Hilarious individual. He became a drill sergeant for the Marines.
Yeah.
And one of my friends got to talk to him like 3 years after he was doing it. I think he's still doing it like 8 years later, by the way, or 9 years later, maybe 10 years of that. And they're like, what's the worst thing about it? He's like, I have to be the perfect Marine. Right?
Yeah.
So he has to be the perfect Marine. He can't
times.
yawn. He can't eat. He can't laugh. He can't do anything in front of these humans. He's just a complete perfect Marine in front of them, and he has to be angry. That's probably what PJ Fleck feels like he has to be because he is the standard. He comes in with a bad mood or has a negative feeling. Like his players are going to be like, oh, okay, that's what it's like. That's like what being a good leader is, by the way, is doing. People who say do as I say, not as I do. The ones that do as I do it, are the better leaders than anybody
Absolutely.
else. You know what I mean?
I mean, just what that's the difference, right? Like beyond the X's and O's, whatever. Like he's not that he's demanding excellence; he's demonstrating it.
Ooh,
so, you know what I mean? So his
bad.
players want to emulate it.
Hey, we got a
Because
couple
he
of
deserves
T-shirts here this morning. He's not demanding excellence. He's demonstrating. Do as I do as I do it.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Glad he cleared up that night game thing too.
Yeah, because that was a
Like, it
real
did make
rumor.
sense, too.
People are like, okay, this guy's asking for game day to come, but he's saying we can't have a night game. People are really saying that in the TV world. We're saying that the Gophers voided that. I was like, I'm happy I asked. I thought it was going to kind of ruffle some feathers because I thought he was going to have to be like, well, we had to do it because of a noise violation. Blah, blah, blah.
Maybe Penn State was just scared. Play at night. Both teams have to agree.
Oh, so he thinks.
No, I'm not saying. No. I'm saying certain head coach at Penn State might be scared to play at night.
Diggs, it sounds like you just said that.
I would never say anything bad about PJ Fleck. Against the cult at Penn State, I would say many bad things about.
Let's talk about the holidays. I know. It's crazy early to talk about the holidays, but trust me, you don't want to go through another holiday season taking closed-mouth photos while everyone else is grinning ear to ear, do you, Todd?
Oh, yeah.
Getting a photo-ready smile starts right now. And it's easier than ever with clear aligners from Candid.
Ooh.
Candid's aligners can help straighten your teeth faster than traditional wire braces. Treatment takes just 6 months on average. Wow. An experienced orthodontist who is licensed in your state creates a custom treatment plan. Then they show you a 3D preview so you can see how your teeth will look after you're done. That's big. If you ever watch like HGTV and stuff, when they give you what it's going to look like afterwards, it's a much better
Love
feeling.
it.
Candid does that, but with your chiclets.
Oh.
Candid's aligners are comfortable, removable, and completely invisible. Candid ships your aligners directly to you, so there's no hassle of going to an orthodontist's office. Ugh. And Candid costs 65% less than braces. And with each aligner purchased, Candid donates $25 to Smile Train, who brings safe, 100% free cleft lip and palate treatment to children around the globe. Get your photo-ready smile by the holidays. Go to candidco.com/Pat and use code PAT to get $75 off. Wow. That's candidco.com/PAT. Code PAT for $75 off. candidco.com/Pat. Code PAT. Pretty good read there, by the way.
Yeah.
Not
Very
bad.
good.
I mean, I got going there in a minute. That sounds, it's better than wire braces, it's cheaper than wire braces, it's quicker than wire braces. Get your teeth fixed with
What are you waiting on?
candidco.com. Promo code PAT to get $75 off. 10:23, we'll be back on the other side, talk trades, World Series, and everything else happening in the world. This is Pat May. Is this Jason McAfee? Jay had you muted, so you couldn't even give him credit. 10:23, this is Pat McAfee Show. It's fight season on DAZN. DAZN is your home to all things Canelo Alvarez. Here are his top 5 moments of knocking somebody completely unconscious. Canelo with the yellow gloves. Drops down. Bang! Ding! Looky here, looky there, out on his feet. Ref says no more, cuz you're done for. Oh, he did the distraction right throw. Looky here, fist in the face. Guy wearing autism trunks gets knocked down by a kidney punch. He'll be peeing blood for 2 weeks. Canelo Alvarez with cinder blocks on his hands. Sleep! Night, night! Ding dong! Vladimir's dead! Oh, that dude's whole body just... Amir Khan, great boxer. Night, night with the snot coming out. James, same thing. Almost like we hit repeat, retweet, righty right on the button for Canelo Alvarez. And those were his top 5 knockouts of other humans. This is not a Jason McAfee beat. Just so everybody knows that, but this is the Pat McAfee Show, 1027. Incredible conversation there with PJ Fleck. I don't know if you're in a truck, in the office, in the classroom, at home chilling. There was a couple speeches he gave in there that almost made me want to run through this wall we got here with water running through it. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Yesterday, trade deadline for the NFL. Everybody was excited because there was a lot of chatter. Who's going where? Oh, my God, Lev Bell's going to move. A.J. Green's going to be out of there. Oh, what? They're going to get rid of Cam Newton? No. Mitchell Trubisky still stinks, still a Bear. Come on. A lot of things could have happened yesterday, but ultimately the only thing that happened was something that confused everybody. Aqib Talib, great corner for the L.A. Rams, gets traded out of Los Angeles to a team that is tanking. That makes hilarious sense. That they are calling teams and just asking for as many picks as possible. What do we got to do to get another pick in the draft? Like, well, will you take Aqib Talib and pay us $4 million? Yeah. Literally, there's no other reason why you would.
Nope.
There's no other reason why you would take him other than the fact. Now, people are saying that Aqib Talib is not even going to report. I have no idea what that means. So Aqib Talib's just not going to go to the Dolphins now. He got traded to the Dolphins. A lot of people are like, but will he ever play? I have no clue what that means. So Aqib Talib's just going to pull a Jalen Ramsey, like, my back hurts, I'm sick, my wife's pregnant, or he's just saying, no, I'm not playing for that team. I don't understand how this works. Will he still get paid? I've met Aqib Talib, by the way. I think everybody knows him from chain snapping and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Good dude. Like, when you know him, good guy. I would assume he'd be great in that locker room. Would the Dolphins want to bring in a guy who could potentially motivate that team to win a game? Well, no way they would want to do that.
Absolutely not.
So are they calling Aqib Talib and just saying, hey, man, sorry for what happened, but your season's done. We'll get rid of you during the offseason. Like, I don't understand how most people are saying he's not going to play a game. It's like, so he just doesn't show up? Like, does he still get paid? I have questions. I have a lot of questions on how that works.
Well, it was definitely for the Rams a clear cap space so that they could probably pay Jalen Ramsey. But then he was already on the IR, so for the Rams. So I don't know if he was coming back this year anyway.
Aqib Talib?
Yeah.
He wasn't going to be able to return until week 16.
So they have that 8-week wait or whatever it is for the IR thing. So he's not going to – so he won't even make an appearance in Miami, and they'll probably cut him after
his
the
contract's up at the end of the year.
So this is literally just
It's
hey,
a
let's
dump. It's a salary dump.
So the Rams could get something, and then the Dolphins get a pick.
Bro, what a hilarious move for these Dolphins. I wonder how many people were calling them like, hey, we got a little financial problem. Is there any way you guys just give us some cash and we'll give you some more picks? I think they have 14 picks now.
Absurd. They have 5 first-rounders in the next 2 years.
You think B-Flow is going to be able to turn that team around? I would assume.
Tell you what, if you're bad, you might as well be this bad and get all these picks.
So it's interesting to think about how Greeny said how tanking is going to ruin the sport or whatever, which I think he's saying that because he lives in New York and NBA. That seems to happen a lot for the Knicks, where they just give up hope in hopes that they can get a percentage or two higher, from like a 14% chance of getting a number one pick to a 15% chance. That is very dumb that the NBA still does that. I mean, I don't think it works. But in the NFL, you see what happened to the Colts team I was on whenever we didn't win a lot of games. You get Andrew Luck. That team goes to the playoffs literally the next year. Like, we were a team that was not good, bang, playoffs next year, right? With Andrew Luck at the helm. Now, if the Dolphins hit on any of these, if they hit on any of these picks and they turn the whole franchise around, as an NFL owner, you have to be worried that other NFL owners are going to see that and they're going to be like, man, we've stunk for 15 years. Yeah, we'll lose every game for sure. Give me Shane Falco. Put him in there. You got to be worried if you're the NFL, because if this does work out for the Dolphins, this is going to be something where everybody else is going to be like, it's a copycat league. Monkey see, monkey do. You see a team tank and benefit from it. It's hard not to be like, well, I mean, we suck. Why don't we suck the most and then potentially be good at some point? That would be great. And if it works for the Dolphins, you're going to see other teams start doing it. And it's not something the NFL is known for, but this could potentially start becoming a real situation in the NFL. And can you blame teams for it? Probably not. No. Literally, you probably can't blame them for it, because if you're running a business that competes every single weekend and forever you've been mediocre, why not get a chance to be good? And it's not going to be good for their fans. It's not going to be good for the league as a whole, but it's probably going to spotlight those bigger games more.
I get the tanking to get better draft picks, but I don't get the trading away players that you know are good, like Minka and Laramie Tunzel, for first-round picks that you have no idea if they're going to be good.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me. That makes no sense to me either, because, now granted, if they hit on it, and they get young guys that are cheaper and all that stuff. So there is upside for it. But I've sat through too many drafts with a team and saw them hit on 0 picks to ever think that I am going to rely on building a draft. If you're going to build your team through the draft, which a lot of teams do, Patriots do it, Packers do it, the Colts back in the day used to do it, Steelers do it. I mean, most of the great franchises build through the draft. That's always been the standard. But they can only do that if you have a guy that can draft good. Mm-hmm. If you have a guy that can't draft good, it's hard to say, like, we're going to build through the draft. It's like, okay, yeah. You're going to put it in that guy's hands? And that's what we had. Bill Polian. Then we went to Grigson, and Grigson had 0 draft experience before that. And I think Jim Irsay was like, okay, I like this guy. I like the way he scouts. He does these things. Let's just assume he'll have the same success in a draft as Bill Polian. That ended up biting us in the ass, and then we had to spend a lot of money in free agency because we started missing on things, which is kind of the reactionary issue, right? Now, some teams have won in free agency. The Los Angeles Rams won in free agency. That is something that they've done. I don't think that's the standard, though. Seattle Seahawks are another team. They built through the draft. They had that Legion of Boom, 5th-round picks making a lot of money. Then they couldn't pay everybody. Now they're trying to do it again. So normally in free agency and trades and things like that, history of the NFL tells us that that is not the way to ultimate success. But we're in a new league now. And if trading becomes something that happens on a regular basis, I like it as somebody that has to talk about the league, first of all. I love it. I love the thought of like, oh, Jamal Adams, is he the missing piece for the Dallas Cowboys? Is Jamal Adams going to go back to Dallas and rally the troops so they show up like they did the last game, every single game? Is Jeff Heath, incredible kicker, Jeff Heath, now going to be on the bench and only be a special teamer as Jamal Adams, one of the best safeties in the game, goes there? Jerry Jones offers a 1st and a 4th. The Jets say, nah, Jamal Adams not happy that they were even taking offers because he was told to his face that wasn't going to happen. And if I'm Jamal Adams, I understand that the general manager told me that he wasn't shopping me. I'm showing up every single day trying to work my ass off. I've become a good friend of Le'Veon Bell, who they were also shopping. And you tell me right to my face you're not going to trade me. The GM says that to him. So then, whenever you hear that you're potentially being shopped, you can see how Jamal Adams would be like, man, this guy just lied right to my face. This man that I am doing business with, ultimately you're doing business with the GM, just lied right to my face publicly. But if I'm the GM for the Jets, I would tell Jamal Adams, hey, man, we were not shopping you. I got a phone call from Dallas. Hey, how's it going? This is Jerry Jones. Well, hello, Mr. Jones. What if I gave you a 1st and a 4th for Jamal Adams? Oh. I just told him yesterday we weren't going to shop him, Mr. Jones. Well, you just think on that and let me know. First round can go a long way, especially with your tanking team. I'll call you back, Jerry. Like, what is that GM supposed to do?
Has to take the call.
Literally, what is that GM supposed to do? So I can understand why Jamal, whenever people are leaking that he's getting shopped, can be upset because you just had a man-to-man conversation with a guy, shook his hand, he said, I'm not shopping you. But if Jerry calls and says, hey, I got a first round and fourth rounder, and that GM says, no, we're not taking it for him, like, you have to come back around then on the GM who is like, no, this guy is worth more to our team than that. Even though we stink this year, that means a lot. And I would assume Jamal Adams has come around because he seems like a pretty understanding individual, and he's a great football player. He's a captain of the team. But a first rounder and a fourth rounder or whatever it was is a heck of an offer to hear from Jerry Jones on trade deadline day to be like, we stink. Unload some cap space. I just told him yesterday I wouldn't trade him. I'll call you back, Jerry. Don't think on it. Just think on it. Remember, you guys are not good right now. Remember, we could be good with Jamal. You could be good with the picks. Something to think about. Jerry starts working his business angle, and that GM's like, no. That's the type of stuff that you have to do, though, whenever you're a GM of a real team and not a fantasy football team. You have to deal with personal relationships while dealing with the business side of things. You have to deal with knowing that you told a person right to their face you wouldn't shop them, and then you get an incredible offer for them, and will you stick with it or will you won't? That's a real tell. By the way, the Jets have done a lot of bad. Firing their GM after he spent all of their salary cap and did their entire draft setting the team up for this year. Bringing in Adam Gase, who has had little success outside of the year that Peyton Manning was running the entire show. A lot of bad decisions. I mean, historically bad decisions for the New York Jets. You can listen to Get Up. You can listen to KFC. You can listen to Gary V. You can listen to Fireman Ed or whatever his name is. You can listen to all of them tell you about how notoriously bad the Jets are. But in this particular situation, I think he actually did the right thing. He's building up trust in that locker room with the team, which has probably never been there before. Lev Bell even came out and said, hey, this is going to take a little bit, whenever Lev Bell's name was potentially being shopped to other teams. Which, by the way, that GM's probably getting calls, because I think what happens is, especially now that we're in a trade-happy league, you see teams that stink. You're like, oh, there's a couple good guys in there. Let me get them off your hands. Hey, we have a chance this year. You don't have a chance this year. Why don't you stock up for next year, make this league better? We'll take those guys off your hand. Lev Bell, you weren't even the GM that paid him. Let me get him. I'll take him. Houston Texans and Chiefs were supposedly looking at Le'Veon Bell. Nightmare for the Indianapolis Colts if that's the case. That dude is unbelievable, and I think after talking to Chris Johnson, he's just getting back into it after missing a year of football, and Le'Veon Bell is going to go back to the Le'Veon Bell he is. Le'Veon, though, very professional afterwards. It's like, listen, patience. We're going to build this thing. Even though I was potentially getting shopped today, and I'm still here, I want to let you know we're going to build this thing. But I think that GM and GMs of bad teams have to make awfully difficult decisions on trade deadline days because they're getting calls for the only players that are worth a single damn on their team. People are like, let us save that player and help you out for the future. And the GM didn't give. The Jets GM didn't give. You got to respect that. Cincinnati Bengals GM didn't give on A.J. Green or Andy Dalton, who they benched on his birthday.
Apparently, the organization of Cincinnati is just against trades in general. That's why they didn't do anything yesterday.
That's what Freeney said yesterday. Freeney said that the Bengals don't move. I mean, that's not what the Bengals do. Even if the guy's on his final year of contract, they just feel like that's not the right thing to do, which old school football, man. We don't trade anybody. You play through your contract, and we figure it out afterwards. Yes, your career is being wasted right now. Yes, your good friend Andy Dalton just got benched on his birthday. Yes, our head coach has little to no experience calling plays, but we hired him to be a head coach and to call plays. Yes, we have no indoor facility. Yes, we have the worst food in the league. Yes, Carson Palmer thought about leaving. Yes, our fan base is an incredible one, but we're going to hang on to this guy until the end of his contract and let him make that decision himself. You have to respect that a little bit, that they just stand by everything. Everything is laissez-faire. We don't give a single damn about anything. Andy Dalton getting benched on his birthday, savage move by the Bengals.
Sad.
So is he done in Cincinnati then?
It's done in Cincinnati.
He has to be,
sure.
right?
Done in Cincinnati.
Well, the coach came out and said they're doing it to see what they have with Finley, who they took in the fourth, so then they could see if they need to take another quarterback this upcoming year.
Which, by the way, makes a lot of sense, but to do it on his birthday, hilarious. Ryan Fitzpatrick didn't get moved either after that incredible first quarter performance.
What the hell?
Cam Newton didn't get moved.
No one.
So that's an interesting. There's a lot of things that were supposed to happen that didn't happen. We're probably like a year or two away still from NFL teams really making plays on trade deadlines. This is a very new thing, the NFL trading humans at a rapid rate. That's an NBA thing. I think people could just kind of lump professional sports in that manner, like, oh, you can get traded, you can get cut, you can get. NFL, there's not a lot of trades that happen. I mean, before the season, there's a lot of players that don't really, aren't vital to the success of teams. Normally, those are getting moved. But big-time players getting moved is not something that happens on a regular basis while they're still under contract because business-wise, those big-time players still sell tickets, still sell merch, still give your fans a little bit of hope. But I think we're about a year or two away before the NFL just really starts wheeling and dealing. Oh, you want who? Yeah. Take them. Let's get another team involved in here. Who do you want? I think that's going to happen like a year or two because I think the NFL is going to want it to happen because it's – I mean, look at all the chatter that happened yesterday.
Exactly.
And nothing happened. The NFL is going to see that. They're going to be like, yeah, I think we can potentially make some real moves here, especially if teams start tanking and stuff like that. I mean, it's all going to come together. 10:40 on the other side of the break, we have Corey Graves, voice of the WWE's SmackDown Live on Fox Friday nights. He just released a podcast in direct competition with our podcast. There's enough to go around, though. He's calling us from Saudi Arabia, too. First guest from Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
Pretty excited.
Let's go.
We also got to talk about this NCAA rules thing. Image and likeness and all that. Players are allowed to make money on in like 2021. So players that are in school right now probably not going to reap the benefits of this, although they're here for it. I'm excited to kind of see how that all plays out. That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
But at least the NCAA has ventured into the 21st century. 10:41, we'll be back on the side. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is named after a man that is a dummy, and I am said dummy. Joined by Todd McComas, DJ Nick Moreau, on the ones and twos, wearing a sweater today.
It's a Lebowski sweater.
Oh, I can respect it. I think it looks very good. You should think about bringing that back, by the way. At Tone Diggs with a Z. How's it going, engaged guy?
Great.
Good beard. At Ty Schmidt. At Evan Foxy. At Viva Lazito. And my brother not only makes beats, he monitors the volume on the microphones. So I appreciate you, Jay. Oh, the first hour has been pretty crazy. I just got off the phone with Cromartie, by the way. A story just came out on Bleacher Report that he said he believes that him kneeling during the national anthem in London is the reason why he got cut. I was on that team, and I was on the plane ride home. For those that know, I was on like 13 edibles, and Antonio Cromartie and I played dominoes together on the entire flight home. That was his last flight as an Indianapolis Colt. Very intriguing situation because I did see him take a knee in England, right? So I did see it happen, and while it was happening, I did think like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know. In Indianapolis, in Indiana, there were signs hanging out of houses that were like, protest and boycott the NFL due to the kneeling. You got to remember when the kneeling thing happened, there was two very different messages going to two very different groups of humans.
Right.
I think the coast in the African American community, which is what it was for, was, hey, our culture, our communities are getting harassed and treated indifferently. We would like America to be the same for everybody. But in here in the heart of America, the message was loud and clear that was disrespectful to the military, that they were kneeling against America. They didn't like America. And those two PR situations there led two groups of humans very far away from each other. And I think the people on the coast did not know how much that affected the NFL here in Indianapolis, in America, right? Not in Indianapolis so much because Indianapolis is a city just like everywhere, but in Indiana, in Iowa, in these places that live and die, not only with the NFL, but with the military. Their family members are in the military. Like 80% of the military comes from the middle of America. So whenever something is being said that, hey, they are disrespecting the military, they are disrespecting your father that died at war, they are disrespecting your brother that came back with no right leg, you can see how the middle of America can see and go, ooh, I hate that. Without them ever being told that, no, this isn't about that. What they're talking about is the America that your brother lost his leg for, your dad died for, is not happening to a particular part of our culture in our community, the African Americans. They were never told that. The messages were just split right down the middle, and not one side wouldn't talk to the other, and ratings went down, everything went down. They're like, well, it's not because of this. The ratings going down isn't because of this. It's because of the refs or the games or something like that. Well, I think those people that were saying that had no idea what was happening. I don't think they had any real pulse of the situation happening. Cromartie just came out on Bleacher Report. The story said he got cut for it. And I think many people would say he's lying for that. I am not 100% sure he's lying for that. I don't know how he played in that game. I don't remember accurately if that's what the spin was. But as a business decision, I wouldn't put it past the NFL to be like, hey, if he's not your elite, be who you can afford to be. So if this guy's going to make an entire city angry, an entire state angry, and he's not going to be an elite guy, it's something we got to think about. And he thinks that's what happened. I don't think he's lying at all, by the way. Some people might be like, well, that sounds ridiculous. Just know that I don't think it's that ridiculous to think about because of the amount of money the NFL was losing that particular year.
And that's interesting, too, right? Because he's like a 4-time Pro Bowler. Like, he's a very good player. It's not like just some bum who was taking a knee.
Now, granted, we had him at the end of his career where he was still balling. We still had him. I think he was still singling people. Like, I think he was still on an island. Great athlete. Good leader in our locker room. Everybody respected him. And when that happened, I don't know how he was playing. That is something I don't know that I should have looked at. I didn't see that story really crack until we got live on air, so I didn't look into how he played that game or how he was playing for us. But even if he was playing good, not great, but good, I still wouldn't argue that that wasn't why they cut him. I mean, it was in England. It was a national thing. Now it became an international thing. I wouldn't put it past him. And Crow and I became friends. So I think we're going to talk to him in the second hour. Should be a good conversation. I like Cromartie a lot. We talked about the trade deadline there before we went to break, how nothing happened. It was just a big tease. And now I believe we're being joined by a man who is live in Saudi Arabia. A man who launched a podcast today called After the Bell, which is all things inside, not only sports, entertainment, and wrestling, but also life, I'd assume, competition of ours, the voice of Friday Night SmackDown Live on Fox, Corey Graves. What's up, bub?
Hey, man. How are you?
How are you doing? This is our first interview from Saudi Arabia. I don't really know how I feel about it.
Well, I mean, I try to give you a little bit of flavor with some backdrop of the city of Riyadh, which is quite beautiful at night.
Okay, so
Very hot during the day.
So it's like a real city over there.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a proper city in the middle of the desert. Because once you leave the city limits, it's just nothing. It's just sand as far as you can see. But Riyadh's a pretty cool city.
You're over there for Crown Jewel tomorrow.
That's right. I'll get the obligatory plug-in, 1 p.m. Eastern, streaming live on the WWE Network.
Tyson Fury's
We will
fighting
see.
Braun Strowman in the middle of a desert. Yep.
Yep. I mean, that and Cain Velasquez makes his WWE debut against Brock Lesnar.
Oh, my. There's some big names there that are making their debut over there.
This is going to be pretty legit, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, the last time you guys were there, it was like, what, 175 degrees or something like that? Is that the expectation for tomorrow?
Approximately, yeah. I believe it was 104 at ringside. And I think the forecast for tomorrow is somewhere in the 90s. So it's going to be warm.
Okay.
It's that kind of heat that just makes it hard to breathe.
Okay, before we get out of here, you joined us on the couch here. Every time you talk, I enjoy the hell out of it. After the Bell podcast launched today, people should download it. Why?
Because if you're a wrestling fan or a WWE fan, I think you'll really enjoy it. It's been my personal mission to kind of bend the rules as far as WWE goes. Pat, as you know, there's a certain way we generally tend to do things.
Yeah, I've heard.
So I'm kind of shaking the bars on the cage a little bit. And we're going to talk about some things that maybe we aren't supposed to talk about in WWE. If it's relevant, if it's timely. At this first episode, I had Triple H on, your close personal friend.
Mr. H.
I had Seth Rollins, Bayley, and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. I mean, talk about a star-studded lineup. I tried to get rid of 2 of them because I wanted to go in depth and have some time. But there's hopefully more time in the future to like really delve into some stuff.
Have you got yelled at for anything yet that happened on that show?
Well, the podcast only came out this morning, so I don't know yet. There's a very distinct possibility. But luckily, most of my bosses are over here in Saudi Arabia with me, so it'll be old news by the time we get back.
Download that now where all podcasts are. I can't thank you enough for joining us here. Good luck with the podcast. Good luck in Saudi Arabia. Stay cool over there. And I can't believe this worked as smoothly as it did from literally how many hour flight?
I believe it was 14. 14 hours.
Get some
And we
rest.
can do it again tomorrow night right after the show and go straight to Buffalo, New York to do SmackDown.
Ladies and gentlemen, Corey Graves, I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you. I think it's going to be good, by the way. He's a good conversator. And those people are not allowed to talk about anything. So if he gets anything out of that, it's going to go big. Thankful to him. We'll be on the other side. We got Jonathan Stewart, and I think maybe Cromartie. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
This is Mexico. This is Mexico. Mexico.
What's the matter? I am a Mexico.
This is Mexico. This is Mexico. This is Mexico. This is Mexico. This is Mexico. This is Mexico.
Viva México, cabrones.
This is Mexico.
Viva México, cabrones.
It's the perfect occasion for a middle vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is, Chase Rice. It is Wednesday, October 30th, 2019 in Indianapolis, Indiana with Nick, Diggs, Ty, Zito, Foxy, Todd, and Jason. Todd just went into the phone booth, 1-833-622-3331 to join the conversation. I texted with Antonio Cromartie. Top story of Bleacher Report this morning is that he said he got cut from the Indianapolis Colts for kneeling during the national anthem in England. Possibly true. I don't know. We're going to see if he can call in here in a little bit to chit-chat about that. Also, last night, World Series Game 6, marred with controversy. Did Trey Turner run in the running lane or did he not? All I know about baseball is that it's a long-ass game to begin with. So if you're going to be adding 5 minutes to look at something that can't even be looked at, what are we even doing? Trey Turner yelling from the dugout to just go ask Joe
Torre,
who's sitting right there, who's the director, chief baseball operator. Just ask him what happened. It was very interesting. I mean, I guess that couldn't be reviewed anyways under the baseball bylaws. Martinez, the manager of the Nationals, got kicked out because of it. He's had a heart attack just recently, I guess. Now he's potentially going in for another one because of his passion for how bad those umps were. I have no idea what a strike or a ball is if it wasn't for that box that's on the screen. I know that they miss the box sometimes and they call it a strike. People say that's the novelty of baseball. I enjoy the novelty of baseball and things like that, especially whenever there's billions and billions of dollars on the line, both gambling and professionally. I like whenever there's this novelty, whatever this old man wants to call is that. But whenever you go and replay something for 5 extra minutes in a game that is already too long, me as an outsider who's watching the World Series because it's the World Series just goes, man, the MLB continues to just not have their crap together. It just feels like they just don't have their ish together. That's really what it feels like, and that's what it looked like last night. Should not take away from the fact, though, that Steven Strasburg is a lumberjack.
Oh, yeah.
They showed him walking off the field a couple times. He is a massive individual.
Yeah.
His legs. He is a redwood, that guy. Strasburg is a redwood of a man. I mean, he was massive. Almost. Now, why don't they just let him complete the game there?
Matchups maybe, and who knows? Maybe they're thinking it's possible that he's running on adrenaline, and maybe they need to use him tonight at some point for a little bit.
Will they let a pitcher go back-to-back nights?
Game 7, yeah. I mean, it's the last game of the season.
Randy Johnson did it in the same situation. They both threw 104 pitches in Game 6. Randy Johnson came back in Game 7, did an inning and a third after Schilling went to beat the Yankees.
And, by the way, that feels like Strasburg won 8 1/3 innings for the Nationals last night, wheeling, dealing, only giving up 2 runs. I mean, it was incredible to watch. And I was watching as a bystander, not somebody that knows baseball too much. I was like, let's let the guy go. Once he got through the 7th inning, I'm like, oh, they're letting this guy go. And then whenever they pulled him after 1 out, I was like, oh, let it happen. Because it was the backup manager or whatever, because the other guy got kicked out. I'm like, let it happen. Like, let 7 balls get yard right now on these backup pitchers. Instead, the guy finished it out. Now we force a Game 7 in Houston.
In Houston, yep.
Yeah, because they get 3 in a row because the other team got 3 in a row. In Houston, which Houston has not been able to win inside of. We were tried to get in one time. Took us 2 hours to get in. Saw the game. Did a Jose, 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 Jose. Jose, Jose chant. We felt like we were Astros fans, and they just got demolished. Last night they got demolished, whether that guy was running into baseline or not. I mean, it's a very interesting thing, this whole World Series. And I go back to that Tim Donaghy conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Donaghy told us, yes, that Tim Donaghy, the Donaghy that cooked books and cooked games with the Mafia movies coming out Friday, I believe.
Yep.
Called Inside the Game or something like that.
Inside Game, yep.
Inside Game, where he was an NBA ref that was cooking books for the Mafia over points and everything. And he said that the NBA basically tells their refs what to look for before games, kind of brainwashes the refs into calling a game for somebody who potentially needs it. If it's a playoff series, they have best of 7, somebody's down 3-1. Let's get this thing to a 6th game here tonight. Let's make sure we call this. They don't tell the refs what to call and that they're doing it, but he said they influence what they're looking for through the evening, which could potentially hurt one team and help another team that needs to extend the series. Last night, complete opposite. I mean, the umpires, if they really wanted a Game 7, they would have said that guy was not interfering with the guy's catch. They would have kept him on there. So there was a lot of people tweeting me last night, like, oh, Tim Donaghy's making his way to the MLB. I'm like, no, complete opposite, actually.
Yeah.
Those umps were actually hurting the game of baseball by not having the Nationals potentially help get a win and not extending it to Game 7. Ball don't lie, though. Soto took one 4,500 feet and flexed on him, which I absolutely loved. That Soto guy might save baseball. Okay? Soto might save baseball. Him flexing in the batter's box at the pitcher, as somebody who's just a novice baseball watcher, oh, I love it. They were showing me highlights on the internet last night, him grabbing his crotch at the pitcher whenever they did something, him shaking his head yes on a good pitch. It's almost like he's sparring with the pitcher, and I love that because normally it's like, well, don't throw your bat too hard or too far. Don't make eye contact with certain people. You're not even allowed to jog this particular direction because you're disrespecting the game. This Soto cat just like, I'm going to grab right in this guy's face if I don't like what he's doing. I like Soto a lot. And to be 21 years old, I mean, there might be a Freddie Adu situation happening here.
Possible.
Very possible.
Danny Almonte
situation. But it don't matter how old he is. If he's 21, if he's 51, he is hitting balls further than everybody else on a more consistent basis in the biggest situations that you could possibly do it. Good for that kid. Good for the Nationals. And good for baseball getting a Game 7 tonight.
And then after he hits the ball 4,000 feet, he then pimps the bat the entire way down the first baseline.
Because
Bregman did it.
Bregman did it, tried to hand off the bat to the first base coach. First base coach, zero self-awareness, zero awareness score of 0 on Madden. Drops the bat, doesn't even see it coming, goes for the high five. Bat ends up on the field. Altuve gives I guess that was very disrespectful. See, in my eyes, not growing up in the baseball world, I don't know why any of that is disrespectful. I don't know why throwing your bat is considered disrespectful. Like, whenever I see them, ruining the game. Yo, baseball. What, it's just a bunch of old whites over there?
It just matters what side of the ball you're on. That's all it is.
What do you mean?
Like, if you're the pitcher and you see someone throw that bat up in the air like 40 feet.
Throw a better pitch, bro. If they don't want us dancing, keep us out the end zone, okay? A poet, Michael Irvin, said that on a 30 for 30 about the U. That is just how I feel about all sports, but I guess baseball is just not that way.
Well, I think pimping home runs, like, that's just kind of part of the game now. Like, pitchers, I think they are in that same mindset. It's like, all right, well, yeah, he beat me. I should have thrown a better pitch. Taking it down to first base like that, I thought that was just kind of dumb. He did it so early in the game, too, where it's like, hey, this is a nightmare waiting to happen if someone – because if the Nationals do this, like that – that's the kind of like bulletin board material that you don't necessarily need, but in a game like that, like they'll take that.
What bulletin board material is going to make you see a baseball better coming out of a pitcher's arm? You know what I mean? Like I just don't fully understand the baseball world, the baseball
Well,
thoughts.
And then Bregman apologized for it after the game too, which is about as soft as you get. If you're going to do that and pimp it, then you got to own it.
I don't think he did on purpose though. I think he forgot to drop the bat, and he got halfway down. He was like, "Oh no, what do I do with this thing?" He was like, "I'm going to hand this off to the coach," and the coach not picking it up kind of threw him under the bus, but. Soto answered how Soto should have answered when that situation happens. And that's just because I think I grew up in sports where competition and talking is like almost promoted as opposed to like, oh, let's not disrespect the game. Like in the games I played, it was like, no, like that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
If you get bombed on, like that's the type of things that are going to happen. Anyway, so let's pivot. Number one story on Bleacher Report this morning is about a guy who's an all-pro, a guy that was a superstar, a guy that everybody knows about. Not only was he a great DB, he was an incredible kickoff returner. I had to tackle him one time. He kneed me right in the jaw, broke my thumb, became a teammate of mine for a few weeks until we played in London town against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where before that game, he took a knee during the national anthem to protest the way African Americans have been treated in America. Middle of America did not get that PR message. What they were thinking was that the military was being disrespected and America was being disrespected. There was two very different messages being sent out. Massive confusion, which shouldn't have happened if two sides would talk to each other. This morning on Bleacher Report, Antonio Cromartie story came out where inside of it he said he thinks he was cut due to the kneeling of the national anthem. Even though we're years removed from that situation, it's still dominating the topic. Friend of mine, guy taught me dominoes on the flight home from that game. Ladies and gentlemen, Antonio Cromartie.
What's up, Pat, man? Appreciate the introduction, man. That's a hell of an introduction.
Well, Crow, it's a real thing. You did a lot for the game of football. A lot of people know you from different things. I got a chance to actually meet you. Incredible guy, good player. Lucky to have you in the locker room. Let's get to this Bleacher Report article this morning. This seemed like it was kind of old news. It came out after you got cut, like, hey, he got cut 2 days after this happened. I don't know how this Bleacher Report article came to be. I just learned about it like an hour ago. Can you walk me through the whole thing?
Well, the Bleacher Report article actually came out. I actually did it. I guess untold stories, but there were so many untold stories that went on from me being in San Diego to me being in New York, me being in Arizona, and also me being with you guys. So we took that. They took that story from when I got cut. If you look at all the other old untold stories, a lot of them are basically the same, but Miles was just a little different. It was a little more seriousness in it. It wasn't really a lot of comedy into it from that standpoint, but it was just something that that was talked about. We brought it up, and that was just one of the one of the untold stories that didn't get talked about. Everything else it was the same. I had like 4 or 5 different stories. They just decided to go with that one.
Okay, so Percy Harvin came out and said he was high in every game, I think in this same series of stories from Bleacher Report.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what you meant by not being comedy, because whenever people read that, they were like, oh, that's ridiculous. I never would have expected that, but it didn't strike a nerve. I believe this story is going to strike a nerve with people even years removed from the entire thing because of how serious it was and how there was two very different sides of the opinion base there.
And see, that's the thing. It's a story and how it got spent. It's the story saying, well, it's about the national anthem. No, it's not about the national anthem. It wasn't even about the flag. It was just about what was going on in the black community or the brown community, what was going on there, how the police brutality, the social injustice and stuff like that. So people want to label it as it's against the national anthem just because of the fact that it was taking a knee during the national anthem. So they see that as saying, you know what, he's disrespecting the flag. He doesn't, they don't belong here. This and that. Look, my ancestors built this damn country. I got every right to do what I need to do here in this country to give anyone else a voice at the end of the day. And I think when people misconstrue the story of what it's really about, and they don't want to talk about what's really going on because they're afraid of what's going on, it makes it hard. So what's the easiest what's the easiest way to get out of not talking about the subject? Say it's about the national anthem, rather than talking about what the real problem is. And I think that's where the story and everything gets misconstrued about what was the whole taking the knee about.
Yeah, I think it was spun in two very different directions, and neither side would just put their swords away and kind of come to an agreement. I do believe, and this is just as an outsider perspective, because the kneeling for the national anthem after I retired became much more prevalent. It became a much more serious story. Not serious, I mean, it was serious from the beginning, but it became much more of a talking and a focal point. Looking from a 30,000-foot view, I believe it helped our country. I believe it was something where we had two very different sides of people, normally never come to an agreement with each other. In the end, I think some good was done from it. I think there was a learning thing that did happen from it. And I do believe the NFL could have potentially said, hey, this costed us financially in a big way. Let's try to end this and appease people as much as possible. And I think even though if they were acting that way, a lot of money got spent into communities, I do believe what you, Colin Kaepernick, and a large majority of African-American players did cause real substantial change in America. So that's something you should be proud about, I think.
Well, not only that, but I think the biggest thing was the conversation got started. I think with Cap taking that knee with Eric Reed, the conversation got started. And that's what it's all about. It's about the conversation getting started. And I know Eric Reed and those guys, they don't really, want to deal with the player coalition because it's, they say it's all about money. But the player coalition is actually doing some good stuff, within the community, within the justice system and things like that. It's not just, NFL just gave us money to shut us up. No, because players are still taking that stand still, no matter how you look at it. And, I think what is the biggest aspect and the biggest look on everything is it can even get bigger as the player coalition get together. I think it just needs to be thought out more thoroughly, and you have some great guys, and Benjamin Watson, Malcolm Jenkins, Anquan Bolden was on it at one point in time. You have guys like that can speak volumes and bring a great attention to it, which Kaepernick did. It's just the point now. It's just everyone has to follow through. It's not about. I think everyone's trying to make a deal. Well, Colin doesn't have a job and this and that, but you got to think about this. Anytime someone sues the NFL, they're never going to come back in, and that's just being real.
Yes.
And I hate that it comes to that, because Colin has so much to still give to the NFL as a quarterback, even if he was just a backup quarterback. You have a man as a guy that can play in that can play in this league and still go out and go be a competitive quarterback when that time is needed. He's the guy that took this team to the Super Bowl. So, I just look at it as, we all make a sacrifice, and Colin was the sacrificial lamb, in this whole into this whole spiel of all of it. And you don't want to look at it that way, but sometimes you have to, because he's the one that took the big step, and doing it. And his whole thing with know your rights and everything that he's doing is beautiful. With him and Eric Reed and those guys, it's just something that speaks volumes on what he does and the influence that he has within the black and brown community. Yeah,
I think ultimately, years later, it was something that was uncomfortable, but that most protests, that's just how it's going to go. And I think the Players Coalition being formed is something that is great for our society as we move forward. I think the people that hated it, literally, and I don't know enough people that stood against it, because I was very much in this discussion where it was like, no, well, it isn't about that. So I think a lot of people in my circle, I was able to tell them, like, yeah, I think this is being misconstrued on both different sides here. I think coming to an agreement at the end was a good thing for the NFL. Now, whenever you were doing it, It was very much this side hated that it was happening, and this side hated that nothing was happening. It was very much a strong, stubborn stance on both sides. I mean, that's just how it was.
Oh, definitely.
People are getting
Definitely.
booed. And you came out and said in this Bleacher Report article that you feel you were cut because of the national anthem protest where you took a knee in England. Did they tell you that? Did you hear whispers from your agents afterwards? Or is this just something you're like putting two and two together? You're like, this just makes too much sense.
You know, honestly, I put two and two together. Like I told you, like when we sat down on the plane in London, you know how pissed off I was.
Yep, absolutely.
You know how pissed off I was for a 10-hour flight back to Indy. So you already know how pissed off I was because I felt like at the end of the day, you know, just be real. I'd rather for you to be real. Don't sit here and try to beat around the bush. And the thing about it, you know, you talk to my DB coach then, I'm like, you know, go to him after the game, and when we was on the plane, I'm talking to him just like, hey, you know, what happened? Like, what's going on? He's like, man, from my understanding, you're only supposed to sit out for the first series, let yourself calm down and go back in, but that didn't happen, you know, and that's what I was told from that standpoint. And it was sad because my DB coach said he didn't even know I was getting cut until I told him. So it wasn't a decision that he was brought into. He just was, damn, Crow, okay, cool. And I don't know how true that is, but you know, I trust him because I've known him for a while.
Hold on, hey Crow, I apologize. You got cut in England?
No, I got cut in Indy.
Okay, gotcha.
So I don't know if you remember when I came on when you was in New York and I did the show in New York when I called in on you.
Yeah.
When we were talking at one time, but you know, me, Matt Overton, Robert Mathis, and one other guy. You know, we during the day that I got cut, we was meeting with the DA, the mayor's office, the commissioner, police commissioner. We met with those people to try to set a plan to do, you know, a lot of policing, you know, like community policing. Like we're going to be able to ride in the car with them and do things on our off days to ride in those rough neighborhoods just to get the police out of the car so we can actually just walk around in the neighborhood and get to know the people that's in the community. So when we finished that meeting, me and the Robert Mathis actually went to the facility. I'm like, okay, let me get my treatment in like I do every Tuesday. Let me do what I need to do. And I got a phone call. You know, and first I ain't answered the call. I'm like, man, I don't know this number. It might be a teller, and the same number kept popping up every like 2 or 3 minutes. So I answered the phone to one of the scouting guys, and they say, hey, Crow, you know, hey, are you in the building? Are you around? Like, yeah, I'm here, you know. And he was like, well, hey, Chuck want to see you. I'm like, cool, okay. So he said, I'll come and get you in like 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm like, hey, I'm in the training room doing my treatment. Can you come get me like 5 or 10? Cool. So he comes and get me. And it's like, hey, you have your playbook. I'm like, what? What do you mean do I have my playbook?
Yeah.
You know, I was like, what the hell y'all mean do I have my playbook? I was like, yeah, I got my playbook. I'm sitting here studying film for the upcoming week. He said, well, Chuck want to see you, and I'll take your playbook. So when I got that, I already knew what it was. You know, when somebody asks you for your playbook, look, I'm an 11-year veteran. When somebody asks you for your playbook, you already know what time it is.
Yep.
So, you know, you just went in and you talk to Chuck, and it is what it is. You know, but like I said,
what did Chuck say to you? What did they tell you there whenever they were letting you know?
Well, this is what Chuck saying. Chuck was saying his main thing was, you know, hey, you know, we're getting healthy. You know, and you know, we brought you in because a lot of guys were hurt, but we're getting healthy. And I'm looking at Chuck like, Chuck, no, ain't nobody here healthy. Patrick Robinson's not healthy. Vontae is only like 75%. Y'all rushed him back. You know, and I'm like, who else do we have besides, you know, Rashard Melvin? And we had Darryl Miller, who had just came in a week before the start of the season, well, 4 days before the start of the season. So I said, how are we healthy? He was like, well, you know, we just feel like, you know, we're moving in the right direction in a healthy way with everyone coming back. And I was like, all right, you know what, cool. You know what, I don't, this is the direction y'all going to go. That's cool. I said, but, you know, at the end of the day, y'all going to pay me $3 million for not, you know, for 4 games, you know?
Yeah.
So it was just a standpoint of, you know, when you look at it, it's like you start putting 2 and 2 together. Like they say, oh, you know, it's my play. It's like in 4 games, the average yards per game over 4 games are 48 yards. So if I'm only giving up 48 yards per game and turn around in 4 games and it gave up 1 touchdown because Luck had ended up throwing it was an interception or it was a fumble and they return it to the 1 yard line. You know, I'm just like, so this is what you're doing. This is what we're doing. So you try to put two and two together.
Got it. Okay.
And it's just like, you know,
Yeah.
and it's the logic of it. And then when you have Jim Irsay who comes out and say, well, whatever you do on the field is not for you to do. You're entertainers. Yes, I understand that part, but we're still human beings at the end of the day.
Got it. So once these things started happening, the way you got cut, your performance, because I didn't know how you played. I didn't remember. I didn't think you were. I thought you played good. If I do recall, I remember thinking like, oh, that's Antonio Cromartie. So I'm excited you came on here and chatted about this. I appreciate you so much. You still doing a reality show?
Man, you know what? My wife is shopping it around right now.
Okay, the Cromarties.
We're not on USA Network, but my wife is working on it right now.
Okay, I appreciate that. Have you had any more kids since the last time I talked?
No, man, stop that. You need to have some kids. Where your kids at?
All right, we got to get to a break. Thank you so much, Crow. I appreciate it. That was awesome.
All right, brother.
Thank you, man. Such an interesting subject. That'll be talked about forever, by the way.
Yeah.
Change the entire... And the people that... believed it was about the national anthem and about the military. Their standpoint is, hey, this is your job. This is our life. This is our sanctuary to come watch our team play. Let's not get politics involved. And on the other side, it's like, hey, we need some things to change. We need some people to realize it who probably don't realize it. I think good conversation was spurred from it. I think a lot of good come from it. But boy, what an interesting situation that we talked about forever. Shout out to Crow for joining us. 11:25. We'll be back on the other side. You're listening to Deep at McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is 11:29 Eastern Standard Time, 8:29 Pacific Time, 10:29 Central Time, which we are headed to this afternoon to Waco, Texas for the West Virginia Baylor game tomorrow night on Halloween. Happy Halloween, by the way. Very thankful you listen to us. Antonio Cromartie, little 20-minute conversation there about everything that happened. Bleacher Report's top story this morning is about him, commenting about how he was released by the Indianapolis Colts because of his protest in London town when we played the Jacksonville Jaguars. I was there for that game. I was on the flight back home. I didn't know he didn't play. I forgot about that. I thought he was in for at least a couple plays. But interesting story nonetheless. Will always be a focal point of the NFL history is the national anthem, Colin Kaepernick, and protests that ultimately ended up with good for our society, I believe. Anytime you get 32 billionaires to donate millions and millions of dollars to a community, that's good news. Hopefully that'll continue to grow. But I think the world, including, is happy to be past it. Mm-hmm. And if good can come from it, good news, good protest. All right, speaking of protests, we have another GM with a burner account. This is awesome. Tampa Bay Buccaneers general manager is allegedly linked by our friends at Dirty Sports, by the way, is allegedly linked. Yeah, the guys out in
Great guys.
Out in L.A., they did all the homework, exposed that a Twitter account that is linked to the same phone number as an account that the general manager had has been tweeting pro Jameis Winston tweets to people that are against Jameis Winston. And it turns out it's the general manager of the team with another burner. First, the Sixers guy who was going after one of his players had burner accounts to go after one of his players. Now, the Buccaneers GM has burner accounts to back one of his players. I think I like it. I think I like it.
Wrote an entire book about it, too.
What do you mean?
The burner account, the Jameis 1 of 1, also wrote a 400-page book about how Jameis is a great quarterback.
Really?
It's on Amazon, yeah.
That is awesome that the GM is that ride or die for Jameis Winston. I would hope that my general manager, if I ever have one, is making burner accounts to go after the DA fans that hate my show. I would love that so much. But what are we doing? I mean, what are we doing? I mean, that is just such a childish thing to think of for a general manager who's trying to run a team to have to spend time making a mock account, making a troll account, and then scrolling, thinking of him scrolling through with like a fake picture, finding another account to go after him. Like, Jameis is good. The GM didn't make a bad decision when they drafted him. You made a bad decision because you don't like him. Like, that is just so petty that I have to respect it at the end.
It's a wild story. So he found out that one of the guys from Dirty Sports was tweeting bad about Jameis, and then this account replied back to him, and it went on, and then he started digging into this account after it blocked him, and they invited the guy on the podcast, and he said he couldn't come because he doesn't do podcasts in person, but he will call in, blah, blah. So it ended up, long story short, he went and he figured out it might be Jason Light, the GM, and then he compared. So this burner account has gone on to do other interviews, like on other shows. So he pulled up the voice of the GM and the voice on this who's done other shows. It's very, very similar. It's like eerily similar how they talk. And
this dude's doing interviews as a troll account?
Yes.
Awesome. Next level, this guy. That is incredible. Andy Ruther and Joe Prano, I believe. If I get that name wrong, it's Joe and Andy. I apologize if I got it wrong. I was on Dirty Sports. They are a legendary duo of humans right there. They had me on their couch. We went live on YouTube.
Hilarious setup. And the thought that I would assume this was Andy that did this, Andy Ruther.
The one with the mustache is the one that did it.
Oh, so it's Joe. Never mind. It's Joe. Just thinking that he's tweeting about Jameis and somebody is so passionately defending Jameis, he's like, wait a minute, this seems a little weird. And does an entire investigation, an IT investigation, to find out that it's the GM's burner account. I love it. I love both sides of this. I like the GM having enough courage and gutsack to go and do interviews as a burner account. By the way, people that are asking a burner account or in a Twitter account in general with no pool to do interviews, incredibly well done by the burner account to become that notable that people want to do interviews with you. And then to just not even modulate the voice at all. Just to go ahead and let that thing eat. Absolutely beautiful. And by the way, you have a good mustache, probably have a good brain. You have a good brain, you start piecing some things together. You're like, wait a minute, this sounds a lot like this guy. Bang, bang, IP addresses, IT addresses, all that stuff. Absolutely hysterical. I wonder if Bruce Arians has any idea that this is happening over his head.
And then the burner account always takes like 5 hours off during the games and never tweets during the games or anything like that.
Everybody knows you got to have a good cover up. Hey, I watched Dateline just a couple times, Todd. What's that thing? The story?
Alibi.
Motive.
You got to have an alibi. That
Yep,
guy's
that
at least got to have somebody like his wife or somebody send out a tweet during the game.
Absolutely.
You know
You
what I
got to
mean?
have a cover story.
You got to have a cover story. So just quit during game days, not tweeting during your own press conferences. I mean, that's
You would think a Jameis fan account would tweet during the games.
Oh, yeah, look how good Jameis is. No, he's too focused on the game.
Yep.
He has too much emotional energy in Jameis Winston. He doesn't have time to tweet about it. I love this. I hope this continues to happen.
I just don't understand. Like, I mean, obviously you get it if the guy's going to bash him, but why not just do it from your personal account if you're going to praise him? Is it just because of the public scrutiny you'll face from it? Like, hey, he stinks.
Let's just let it be known. Nobody with a good team is going to have this happen.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
If your GM is worried about creating accounts to tweet against people, your team stinks to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost respect the fact that the GM's like, well, we stink. At least I can have a little bit of fun here in this thing. I wonder if he has like a fantasy football team and he just drafts the entire Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Goes into like an ESPN fantasy league. That guy stinks. I mean, this is going to stick with him forever, obviously.
Yeah.
You can't be a general manager that has burner accounts and stink. Now, if Belichick has a burner account to go after people, now we're talking legendary stuff. This is not something I'd assume Chris Ballard would do, who's turning out to be a great GM. Anybody that's worth a single damn or worth the laundry detergent that they waste in the facility wouldn't do this. But I enjoy the fact that there's people that stink that have the time to do this, because this is a great story in sports lexicon. I mean, this is incredible stuff to hear at the highest level. The NFL is the highest level, the highest job you could potentially get. NFL general manager. Acting like a 13-year-old.
The account's pinned tweet is its book to buy for $18.99 on Amazon. Jameis Winston.
This dude wrote an entire book as a burner account. This dude's doing interviews as a burner account.
Dedication.
And running a team. Into the grind.
It's got 2,000 followers as his burner account.
You know what? If he wasn't tweeting so much, maybe they would have been able to make some trades yesterday. Yeah. You know what I mean? Maybe they got that team worth a damn.
The Twitter bio is how the media causes us to overlook the start of a Hall of Fame NFL career.
Hilarious. Wow. I absolutely love that he's all in on Jameis. Jameis has to hear this, though, and be like, my God. His agent's like, let's negotiate that new deal here before you get canned for this. You know, let's get some money in my pocket before we get out of here so I don't have to steal crab legs forever. You know what I mean? Jameis probably a good guy if you meet him. I don't know. I saw him eat a W.
Yeah.
I saw him do a lot of things. Bruce Arians took the job strictly because of him, though. He said he liked him as a kid. That's interesting to me. And if this guy's willing to sacrifice it all, write an entire book under a cover name for him, that's real love. I mean,
Bruce might quit the job strictly because of him, too.
What's that?
So Bruce might quit the job strictly because of him, too.
Imagine Bruce Arians being like, what have I got myself into here? What are we doing? The guy that's running this team is tweeting from a fake account, writing books from a fake account. That's the next level, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Tweets of 280 characters at a time. To go chapters as a burner account, this guy's legendary.
400 pages.
I believe so, yeah.
12-inch font, double spaced. Is it bold?
Have to.
Jeez. 1137. What a hilarious league the NFL is. Those who stink, stink. In all facets. Mm-hmm. Not just on the field, but on social media as well.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm just thinking of Bill Belichick. I'm just thinking of
400-plus pages.
Author Jameis, 1 for 1. Jameis Winston derangement syndrome. How media bias causes us to overlook the start of a Hall of Fame NFL career. That's the name of the book. 400 pages, 850 citations, Hall of Fame QB era adjusted stats. You always look for adjusted stats in a good book. Forward by Jameis Winston's trainer. So Jameis Winston's trainer got a message from his burner account. He's like, yeah, I'll write a forward for a book. What's it going to be about? Oh, it's about the media bias. Fake news. This dude's the best. What a dum-dum. They're never going to get a single free agent down there. If you got a child, a perpetuant child running the team.
What's Marvin Harrison Trinity?
I don't know. Rest in peace to Pops, though, by the way. John Witherspoon passed
no.
away. I know. It was a sad morning this morning.
Stay out of the bathroom.
I won't use the bathroom for 45 minutes. Hilarious. All right, 11:39. Jonathan Stewart's on the other side from the Carolina Panthers. We'll talk to him about why Cam Newton wasn't traded, and is Kyle Allen the answer? Got slaughtered by the Niners, but he's 5-1 or something like that. It's hard to argue with that. 11:39. You're listening to the Pat McAfee. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. A complete rave right now using hack music because we can't use real music because it's too expensive. Joining us now is a man that spent over a decade in the NFL, a Pro Bowler, known for his time in the Carolina Panthers. Ladies and gentlemen, from the University of Oregon, quack, 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 the Ducks, Jonathan Stewart. Oh, boy. How's it going?
What's going on?
Hey, did that rave music wake you up a little bit while you're driving around there?
Yeah, I was actually wondering what song that was, and you pretty much killed me with the fact that, you know, music that's known is really expensive these days. So it's good for people making music like that.
Mr. Stewart, thank you so much for joining us. I don't know where you're headed or where you're going, but thank you for making some time for us. Let's talk about the Carolina Panthers. Yesterday, trade deadline. Cam Newton, I guess everybody outside of the Carolina Panthers organization was expecting a potential call for him or a move for him with Kyle Allen's success. The Panthers said no, no, no. Are you buying the hype that Cam Newton is still the future of the Carolina Panthers, even though they didn't trade him yesterday?
I definitely think he is the future of the Carolina Panthers. I mean, when he's healthy, I'm pretty sure no one wouldn't want him on their team and to lead their team. I mean, the guy's been dealing with ailments and injuries. You know, you've seen what happened with Andrew Luck and him battling, you know, through coming back with the injury. I mean, those things are tough, especially for a quarterback to have a arm issue type of injury and having to come back and deliver, and the expectations of delivering like you were once before injury. I mean, it's a tough expectation to follow through. And I think right now, you know, the foot thing that he's got going on, and I think it's all a good season of time for him and for the Panthers to do some soul searching on, you know, what does it look like to have, you know, a protocol that we can follow for our franchise player and to keep him healthy. And right now it is, you know, make sure you have a good depth chart to where when guys need to heal up, you make sure you give them time to heal up so they can be the best they can be. And I think they found that in Kyle Allen. And, you know, he's been producing, and, you know, they can't come off a tough loss this past weekend. You know, there's a lot of things that probably tie into that. You know, 49ers are a great team, and, you know, they're on a roll right now. And, you know, I think it's a wake-up call and a learning experience for, you know, Kyle Allen and the coaching staff in general. So,
he just drove through a dead spot. Just drove through a dead spot. He froze up there. Interesting to me, though, that the thought of how dealing with those injuries and what happened to Andrew Luck, it was something that we saw. It looked like Cam Newton didn't enjoy football anymore.
Correct.
That's what it looked like. So
1,000%.
when Kyle Allen comes in and Kyle Allen becomes this spark to a team, you would assume that you could still get value for Cam Newton, get him in a new spot. Maybe he gets like a spark of interest in football again instead of just the bad times. Now he has to prove himself somewhere else. They decided not to trade him. They are moving forward with Cam Newton, I would assume, as their quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do this weekend, but it's almost like Kyle Allen almost gave them like a clear jump, and who knows what's going to happen with Cam Newton. Let's move forward. Trade talks yesterday were insane, Jonathan. I mean, I haven't heard anything like this in the NFL's past, where it was like this star player, this primetime player is going to go here, go back to the beginning of the season. Big-time players want to get out of where they were. Do you think stars moving, is it going to become the new norm in the NFL, or is it just going to be all chatter?
I think it's going to be all chatter. You know, everyone wants to speculate, and everybody wants, you know, things to happen, you know, in an entertaining way.
Yes.
And I think, you know, that's not the reality in which football really falls under. There's certain things that do happen that are kind of like a wow moment. But for the most part, I mean, you know, it's a long season, and you can't just give up on guys, you know, early in a season like this, mid-season, midway, because that sends a message to the rest of the guys, especially given the nature of this business. You know, it's tough to stay healthy, and it's tough every week when you're going against other professionals, getting paid, you know, the same, you know, money, the same contracts, week in, week out, you can't just send that message to the rest of the team that, hey, we're 2-4 and we're panicking. So that's not a good look sometimes.
How do you feel about the tanking situation that is currently happening in Miami? I was on an Indianapolis Colts team on 2-14. Everybody says we were sucking for luck, but we ended up with Andrew Luck. Now the Dolphins, they have like 5 first-round picks or something within the next 2 years. If they can completely revamp that organization through losing and gaining draft picks, selling, giving money away for draft picks like they did with the Rams yesterday, do you think it becomes a trend in the NFL to potentially stink as bad as you can so that the future is brighter than it currently is?
I hope not.
Me neither. Me neither.
But I definitely see the benefit there. Like if you're not satisfied with the thing that you're having and experiencing and coaching, there's definitely ways of positioning yourself to gain some good players down the road. But again, I think, just from my perspective, I think that's the coward way to do things. My thing is, it's a team sport and you can't give up on the guys that you have, and you need to find a way, to make it work, whether it's get a better coaching staff, get a better GM, and you won't be in those spots, So, I think the NBA trending that way is more suitable for them because, you have a pool of guys that are no-brainers as far as
elite.
These guys control the league.
Yeah.
And we kind of have to play to their hand. I don't think it's that way so much for the NFL, and I stand by, work with the cards that you're dealt.
Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking of the cards you're dealt, the general manager for the Buccaneers just got outed for having a burner account tweeting good things about Jameis Winston. This is real. He had a burner account. He wrote an entire book about it. Is that the most?
What?
Yes, as a burner account. He wrote a book about the media's derangement against Jameis Winston, a future Hall of Fame quarterback. He tweets against people that tweet bad against him. It's all come out this morning. It's one of the most hilarious things I've ever heard in my entire life.
Wow. He's all in. It's a little weird. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's weird. I'm going to protect my player from everything. That's weird.
Hey, if I'm the player, though, I appreciate the fact that the GM not spending time scouting, not spending time making our team
He's
better.
tweeting. He's tweeting. He's got the Twitter thumb like, your boy up there up north.
Oh, Drizzy. Okay, before we let you get out of here, how do you see the NFC shaping up?
I mean, it's, I hate to say it, the Saints right now are playing crazy good. The fact that Drew Brees came back and didn't miss a beat yesterday, it's kind of scary in the sense of, all right, so that, like, the games that he did miss for the guys that played the Saints in that time, their hopes of winning were a lot greater.
Yeah.
Against a team that's well coached, has a great system. And I mean, kudos to the coaching staff, having those guys playing the way they were playing without Breeze. And then for him to come back yesterday or Sunday and perform the way he did, it's scary. I think they're right now playing at a high level in the NFC. I mean, you have the Seahawks. Russell Wilson is, I feel like he's, me and my friends joke about it, but, we call him, like angel from heaven. Pretty much, like, he's just kind of got that knack for winning and delivering balls that just somehow get caught in the right fashion. I mean, the catch that Lockett had a couple weeks ago is just an example of, one of those things where if you have a guy like that's making plays on a team, there's the sky's the limit, really. So.
All right. Well, Mr. Stewart, I appreciate you so much. We got a heart out here. Incredible in-depth stuff I hope one day you have a boss that makes burner accounts to protect you.
Yes, I think that's the standard now.
Thank you, man. What a day today. Corey Graves, PJ Fleck, Antonio Cromartie, Jonathan Stewart. Talked about the World Series. We're a baseball show all of a sudden. Talked about trades. The only thing we missed was Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones said, thought we'd be better than we are. We all did, Jerry. We all did. 11:55 here. I don't know what show's next. I hope it's better than ours. I hope your afternoon continues to be a beautiful one. It's been Wednesday, October 30th in this sports world. My brother Jason playing some bangers. We can't thank you enough for listening every day and watching. We don't know why you do, but you do. And for that, we thank you. Cheers. Have an incredible day. This has been the Pat McAfee Show. Thank you.